Hey, in this video I want to show you how the soil industry in Australia is selling as certified rubbish. Watch towards the end of the video and I'm going to give you my 3 tips on how you can avoid buying soil that's contaminated by plastics. I didn't want to have to make this video about plastics in soil, but my experience has been really disappointing and I think it's worth sharing what I've learned. I was sold organic certified soils only to find that it was contaminated by plastics, rubbish and broken glass. As someone new to building garden beds and growing vegetables, this has been a big learning curve for me. If there's only one tip you should take from this video, you should know that the soil producers here in Australia are allowed to have unchecked amounts of microplastic in the product and up to 0.5% of the total weight in rigid plastics, glass and metals, all while still being certified under the Australian standards 4454. This vegetable soil I purchased is also supposed to be certified under the AS 4419 for landscaping and garden use. This Australian standard outlines that the soil must be free from harmful foreign materials. These are contaminants such as plastics, glass and metal that can negatively impact the health of the plants, soil quality or the environment. So basically, these soils cannot be certified if they are contaminated by plastics and rubbish. I had to learn the hard way, but if I'd known sooner, I could have avoided growing contaminated vegetables for my family and saved me a lot of work, as I had to remove all the soil from the vegetable gardens and start from scratch. I hope by making this video, you can learn what the soil producers are getting certified and then avoid buying plastic contaminated soils and organic products. I recently bought a truckload of a premium quality vegetable topsoil to refill all of our vegetable gardens. When the soil arrived and I noticed it was totally contaminated by lots of plastics in the soil, I kind of knew that this wasn't right, so I called the supplier just to have a chat with them and find out what was going on. The local supplier informed me that this was a premium quality soil that is certified by the wholesaler, and every now and then you get some plastics in it that you just need to pick out. He told me that the wholesaler isn't really allowed to dig up much product from the earth now, so they add a lot of recycled materials into the product, and that's why you end up with some plastics, but it's totally safe, they're all degradable, and that I should just pick out the plastics and it'll be safe to grow vegetables in. I was picking out a lot of bits of plastic as I loaded it into the barrows and then into the gardens, and I wasn't really feeling quite comfortable with the amount of contamination I was finding. But it wasn't until that the garden beds really dried out that I noticed how much plastic contamination was in the garden beds. There was heaps of broken glass and every type of bit of plastic you can imagine. I even have saved a big bag of the different types of plastic here that I'll show you later. Once I realized how much plastic was in the garden bed, I knew that I had to get rid of it, as we're going to be growing vegetables in these gardens for many years to come. So I decided just to take some photos and send an email to the local supplier and the wholesaler just to inform them what was in the product. So I took a bunch of photos of all the bits of plastic and contamination I'd been picking out of the garden beds from the product and sent an email to the supplier and the wholesaler, just informing them that I wasn't happy with the product, I'd like a refund. The local supplier got back to me and they were more than happy to refund me my money on the soil, and they apologised about all the contamination and told me they weren't going to keep selling this product. The local supplier informed me that this product is made by Soilco and it's all certified and deemed safe. So what I did is I did a little bit of research. I went onto the website of Soilco and looked into their products, and they're all deemed safe and certified under the Australian standards 4454. What I found out is quite interesting. These wholesalers and producers are actually allowed to add quite a lot of recycled or bits of rubbish into the product and still get it certified. For example, they're allowed to have 0.5% of the total weight of the soil to be made up of hard plastics, glass and metals. So for every 100 kilos of soil, you're allowed to have 500 grams of plastics, broken bits of glass and metal in the product. And the thing is, they're only counting plastics over a 2mm size when it's getting certified. So for any plastics under 2mm, they're not even checking for. So all the soil can actually be full of microplastics and you'd never know, and it's still getting certified by the Australian standards. The other type of plastic that they allow is flexible, light and film plastics. They permit 0.05% of the total weight of the soil to be made up of light, flexible and film plastics of sizes over 5 millimeters. For every wheelbarrow or roughly 100 kilos of soil, they're permitting 50 grams of these light plastics to be found. But the interesting thing is they're only checking for plastics over 5 millimeters in size. So anything under that size that you could almost class as a microplastic, even though it's quite large, can just be added to the soil and they're still getting the product certified. So you never really know how much plastics are in these soils. Okay, that's pretty much all the soil out of the garden beds that is contaminated. We're down to the level of where the logs and sticks are, so I can't really get any more out. But even at that level, I'm finding plastic, so I've pretty much had to bring out on this side and the back 90% of all the soil we've put in. These are my 3 tips for buying soil that isn't full of plastics and rubbish. First, just ring the supplier, have a chat to them, and ask them to guarantee that their product's going to come without any rubbish or plastic in it. And any good supplier wants a reputation for selling soils that aren't full of plastics. My second tip is, when you find a supplier you can trust, just go there and check out the stock, dig around, just check it for any plastics, glass, metal, any bits of rubbish that you don't want to be growing vegetables in. Any good supplier will be happy for you to go through and check out the product in person. I don't trust any supplier now without having a look at the product for myself first. My third tip is that when the soil arrives, just check it out. Dig around, have a look through it, make sure there's no contamination, no plastic, no metal, no bits of broken glass, and if it is, just ring them up, send it back and get a refund. No supplier wants a reputation of selling products that are full of rubbish to the general public.